Hi guys, welcome to the video. Today we're doing a really nice one. So this is about kind of painting architecture. We're gonna also look at a new sketchbook that I just finished putting together, and then a book at the end that is about painting the buildings in Paris as well. So it's a beautiful book, and yeah, let's just get into it. First things first, the book on the bottom here is my new sketchbook. So the top one I just did a flip through video of. So I loved this sketchbook, I loved using it, and I bound it in Coptic binding style with paper that I really love. So it's about 8 by 6 inches, and then the new one here is about 10 by 8.5 inches. I used the I think it's the Stonehenge, the paper pad, and I tore a little bit off each side and to create kind of the size that I wanted. And yeah, there's a few other different bits and pieces and different papers. I also used so this is a canvas, a gessoed canvas, and then I'm going to attach that. This paper is very thin that I used for sort of the cover, so I'm going to attach the canvas somehow, maybe with a sewing machine or just some hand stitching. I'm not quite sure yet. Yeah, but just to sort of give it that sturdier cover. And so for the signatures, or like each kind of little fold of paper where you stitch it, I did 3 papers. The first one and I'll link them below. The first one was the cotton one from Hollanders. It's the Somerset heavyweight, but it's actually a lighter weight than regular like 300 GSM watercolor paper. And then in the first 2 signatures, the middle 2 papers were Saunders Waterford. I just tore up like a piece of Saunders Waterford paper that I like. But then for the rest of the signatures, I put the I think it's the Stonehenge. So I got a pad of that, and then I just tore around the edges to create the size that I wanted. I also used a couple of other different pieces of just paper that I had there because I wanted, I can't see it here now, but I wanted like quite a thick sketchbook. So I think I had about 8 signatures maybe. And then again on the end I used the linen to kind of encase the kind of the folio, like the signature. And then yeah, I'm also gonna just glue that shut at the top and the bottom and make kind of a little pocket for the middle of the last signature there as well. So then this was the first thing that I actually painted on that Stonehenge paper, just to try it out. And so I painted the Art of Soil, the palette, and yeah, I really enjoyed painting on this paper. I think the one thing, pretty much the only downside to it, is that it does take a long time to dry, like a lot longer than the Saunders Waterford. So that's really the only thing. But other than that, it's such a beautiful paper. It has a very beautiful feeling. Yeah. And so you can see there, like I just left the linen on the back cover. I didn't put any other paper. I really just liked the look of it. Yeah. And that is the kind of final result. So yeah, and so that'll be like obviously like coming up in more videos soon. But the other thing I did, so I've been trying to paint larger paintings, which is taking me longer, and yeah, so the videos are a little bit more difficult to make because just the paintings take quite a bit longer. But yeah, I painted this one of the foyer, and it's like got this beautiful chandelier in it, and the beautiful ceiling. I'm not sure what it's called, but the woodwork in the ceiling is really beautiful. So I was just kind of, again, just sort of sketching this scene and trying out different things, trying out even just painting in a larger format is quite a daunting thing, and you've got to cover a lot more surface area. So like you can see, like even painting the wall, you know, doing that without parts of it drying and things like that. So there's a little bit more problem solving to navigate, which is interesting. And yeah, so you can see like I've got kind of palettes just everywhere, and also because it is a larger paper, you know, it's difficult also to video and things like that. But yeah, I think it's really important to remember, I know we talk about this a lot because I do get a lot of comments and feedback about it, that it is difficult to start like even a new subject, to try new papers, to try different things. You know, if you get disappointed that something didn't work out, it is quite difficult to figure out how to exactly, you know, paint something you've never painted before, or you know, what colours to use, where the shadows fall. Yeah, so a little bit tricky. One of the things that I liked about doing this painting is in the ceiling, I used one of my paints, which is a mix of, so it's the darkest sort of granulating brown I could find, and it's the same pigment that Wallace and Seymour used for their shimmer, iron glimmer. So it's like a glistening black, but the shimmer in those granules is actually, they're more like granules rather than just a shimmer. So it's quite beautiful. It's kind of got a little bit of movement across the surface in kind of an unexpected place. Yeah, and then you can see here that in the walls, this is a new favorite mix. So I wanted to also share a few mixes that I've found in doing this as well. And I will go through that, but you can see here on the back of these paintings, I've started to kind of put down what papers I'm using, and then also some of the mixes that are not obvious to me, or like some of the colors that I'm using that aren't as obvious. So you can see like in the wall, I used a mixture of those things, which you would not necessarily look at that wall and think that all those colors were in there. And so the other thing that I was doing with this kind of mixture is putting it down as like a wash in the background, and then adding just pearl white. And when it was kind of almost dry, I was adding pearl white and just painting kind of into that background. So yeah, quite interesting to kind of just think about techniques. And so the mix, this one of my favorite mixes at the minute is the Incarnate #1. So it's the first thing that I put down, that kind of peachy color. It's from Kremer Pigments, and I used to really enjoy the Wallace and Seymour Tenebrese, which is almost an identical color, but they don't, it's their one now. They've reformulated it. It's a bit more pink, which I still do have in this palette. I still love it, but it's a different color. It's more of a powder pink rather than that peach. So, but I have been mixing the peach with the Daniel Smith Purpurite, and it's like an aubergine color. It makes such a beautiful mix. And then you can see there as well, I'm also adding in a little bit of indigo, a little bit of hematite. So I really like kind of starting with that mix and then adding to it. So yeah, really, really beautiful. The other way you could make something like this is like with a Naples yellow red, something like that, and then a purple with a little bit, or like an ochre and a purple and a little bit of brown, something like that. You can play around with different mixes and different colors that you have. I'm also showing you how you can kind of get a similar thing. This is shell pink, Holbein shell pink, and then the Beam Paints Lavender, which is very similar to the like Holbein Lilac. And then this is Hematite Violet. So you kind of mix those three in different ratios and you'll get very, very similar results as well. So yeah, you can use any combination of paints that you might have. Always a granulating brown or a black is a really good idea. Also like a Hematite Violet, and then this one here is the Daniel Smith Lunar Violet, which I think is going to be similar to a granulating black with a little bit of purple. And yeah, I really love just all these kind of different combinations that they make. And you can see like it just starts to make these really beautiful kind of smoky mauve type colours. Let's see. So this is kind of where I started for the, and yeah, there's just, I've just been really enjoying kind of, this is my little mixing book. And so I always put in there different mixes that I find and that I really enjoy. But what was I saying? So for the wall, and actually I've done this a few times, so there's a video going to be coming up about a few different sketches like of these that I've made. And when I started, I was kind of just looking for wall colors, and sometimes like the wall gets this beautiful kind of orange glow, which I'll kind of show you in that video. But I started just with the Incarnate #1. I was adding a bit of Pyrrole Orange. I was adding a little bit of Ultramarine Violet. I was adding a little bit of the Isero Rose. And so kind of around, and just little bits and pieces, so that around the painting, and you can kind of look at it in a minute, but like around the painting, it just subtly goes from, you know, where it starts as one color, and then as the room goes across, it gets a little bit of a warmer glow. So from left to right, it goes a little bit warmer, and then from the top down to the bottom, it also goes a little bit more shadow as well. So yeah, and see, you can see how subtle it is. Like you can't necessarily tell that all of those things were in that mix, but it's just that way that you kind of, when you look at a wall and the shadows fall across it in a very subtle way, yeah, that's kind of how I was creating that. So I thought that would be quite nice to share. Okay, so we have switched painting gears. This is a painting of a street. It's like a corner building in Paris. So I was on the instantstreetview.com, I think, and I was looking for different building facades in Paris. So this was a while ago. When I was telling you about this, it must have been a few months ago. So I screenshot quite a few things. So I have this little folder of just buildings and things that I want to paint. So I thought that I would try and make some time to give this one a go. And I am using, for the main kind of building facade, I'm using Daniel Smith French Ochre and Daniel Smith Hematite. So it's like an ochre, a little bit of a granulating black, The hematite it's kind of a softer black with a little bit of a dark brown in there as well that settles in there sometimes. So yeah, you could use an ochre, a granulating black, and a granulating brown, and then it's very, very watered out. So to get a very that kind of very soft value for the stone. And you can also see that I am kind of leaving, so rather than kind of painting in just a whole wash of the building, I'm painting in the stone, and then I'm leaving a little bit of white space between the stones. So when my initial kind of idea was to go back in and paint the little shadow, but I didn't get that finished for the video. So but the other thing that I am doing is I keep changing the mixture so that every stone has a little bit of different texture and different patina on it. So they're not all going to look the same, and so I want to mix each stone in a similar way so that you kind of just get those subtle changes throughout the building, the structure of the building. And so I just went around and kept sort of, painting in each thing. And what I would do is, like, for these larger paintings, I'm finding, because they do take quite a bit of time, I try and just make 20 to 30 minutes a night and just do that much, and then kind of let it go and keep chipping away at it. So these are paintings that are not necessarily done in one sitting, but they take me maybe a week or more to do. Okay, so you can see here that I finished the kind of the the architectural detail part, like all the carved intricate part, that's part of what I really love about these buildings. So I did that on its own one night. So if you break something that's more complicated down into steps rather than rushing it, I think that also really helps. And then I just adding all these little details as well, so it's really nice. Like one of my favorite like primary triads, even though it's not necessarily a mixing triad, I really love Indigo, Shell Pink, and French Ochre. And you can see that here, like how nicely the Indigo is blending in with the French Ochre. Yeah, so anyway, I just realized that I didn't put the screenshot that I used into the video, so I'm gonna try and pop that on my blog, and I will leave a link to it below so you can have the reference. And yeah, so just if that's not up there in a couple of days, just remind me, and I will get that link in. And but yeah, so the colors is what I'm saying were a little bit different, but again, I'm just choosing things that I think will go nicely. And also the doorway was a little bit different. Not exactly happy with how the doorway, how all these parts, kind of the finishing of the windows, that's something that I definitely want to work on. Yeah, for future painting. So again, this is why it's really good to have a sketchbook, and I've just started kind of using paper. Like I really do shy away from paper a little bit because it's like it is a finished painting, but I have just started basically using paper and just as a sketchbook. So like I'll just come in, I will work on it as if I was working in a sketchbook. And so I'm finding that quite helpful, that kind of different way of thinking about it. So it's almost as if like when you finish the painting, you're kind of almost finishing a sketchbook. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but that's kind of how I've been thinking about it. And then I really love the reflections in windows. So I have kind of done this roof, that might be like across the street. It's not actually the reflection in the window that I was doing. I've just kind of made up the reflections, but I think that they need to be a lot darker to kind of show the stone colouring a little bit better, rather than they're too washed out. So anyway, I think the whole thing needed a few more layers, but for the sake of getting a video out on time, or at least in somewhat of a timely manner, I kind of finished it here. Otherwise it would probably go till next week. So yeah, but I hope you enjoyed that. So it's quite exciting to always start something and kind of a different subject that you've been wanting to try and wanting to work on, and even if the whole thing isn't kind of quite where you want it to be, it's also kind of starting to be there, which is quite nice. So yeah, like the door I want to fix, and anyway, so but yeah, I was happy with just the kind of stonework. And so yeah, anyway, let's see, hopefully you know what I mean. It's difficult kind of navigating this fine line between kind of being able to do it how you want to do it, and then also feeling frustrated because you can't. So you kind of try and just chip away at it. And yeah, what was I going to say? My mum's cousin, she makes like these gorgeous leather flowers, and she said that even sometimes it can take years just to find one part of the process. And I was thinking about that when she said that to me, and yeah, it is interesting, and it is a little bit like that, particularly for like painting and for watercolor, because there are so many different components that you're trying to get your head around, and it's difficult to work on them all at the same time. So it's a lot easier to kind of break that down and just do it step by step. What's that quote that says, like, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step? You know, you just start somewhere and then you gradually build things. So yeah, I think it's nice to see things starting to come together. Like, I remember doing my New York video and I painted something for that, but I was really tired when I tried to do that video, and yeah, I was just really unhappy with it. So it's taken me a little while to sort of try and work on that again. But yeah, I wanted to, there's two kind of things coming up. We're going to look through a book which I actually found because I was looking up watercolor buildings, and I found this beautiful book which is very similar to the painting that I just did. So, and then we will also talk about a shop update after this. But here is the book. So this is the Facades of Paris, and yeah, it's just this really beautiful book. So there was a period where they wanted to try and make everything look kind of harmonious in France or like in Paris, and they wanted also to sanitize the city, so they were doing a lot of work on the buildings and, you know, construction in the city to make it really beautiful as well. So yeah, this one architect basically designed a lot of the fronts of the buildings, Baron Haussmann. And yeah, even just reading the introduction, it's very beautiful, and kind of learning a lot about the different, you know, stylistic choices that they made at the time. And yeah, I just really love the way just the whole prose and kind of the way they've written the introduction. But this one part, it's at the very end, it says, through the magic of, so it's actually talking about these paintings. Through the magic of drawing and watercolor, they transform a point of view into a focal point. Generous and creative, Parisian balconies offer us their horizons. So I think that's really beautiful, and I'm sure that a lot of you have probably been to Paris. I haven't been there yet. I'd love to go one day. But yeah, I just think this is such a lovely, and I think this was done during the lockdown as well, like during 2020. A lot of this was painted, so it's very nice also to, that's the thing about books, is that it can kind of transport you to somewhere else. You know, you can go on adventures just through these pages in this book, and through words, but also through paintings. So, you know, a lot of these different architectural details are captured in this book, and the attention to detail is really, really, really beautiful. Like, I love the shutters here, and just the delicacy of the balconies. And I'd love to actually paint some of the New York facades in a similar way, because New York also has that real feel of the old world in parts of it. There's some really, really beautiful buildings. But some of you have asked me if I would be interested in writing a book, and I think I haven't painted exactly what I want to paint yet to put in one, but I also think I would love to do one that's part watercolor and part photos. And like, if you know Tessa Kiros cookbooks, so she's just actually got a new one that came out last week, but I really love her cookbooks, and they're not just with recipes, they have these beautiful photos, so it kind of zooms you into the recipe and then it takes you out to like the city that kitchen is in, and where the meal's being served. And she's got like family trees and letters and all kinds of different little things. So that is something I would really like to kind of incorporate, a lot of different kind of things into just a really beautiful what's the word, kind of creativity as a way of life, and the book is more of an experience. It takes you on a bit of a journey and shares different things other than just kind of how to paint. So yeah, anyway, that's just kind of in the back of my mind, and you know, maybe one day that will be there. But I also love the back of the cover here, and the other thing you can see there is, so I think I only paid somewhere around $25 for this book. So books do fluctuate on Amazon, and then you can also, underneath the price, a lot of the books that I get are either like secondhand. So it says used on there, and then usually it'll say used and then good, very good, or acceptable, I think is the other one. And I will always try and get a very good one, and I've always had almost like brand new books. So yeah. But the next thing I want to talk to you about is something quite exciting. So there will be a little shop update next week. So you can see these beautiful wooden palettes. So my father has a friend who he makes, like he builds really big like barns. And so he's made a couple of these wooden palettes, and then I'll be like filling them with, you know, the pearls and shells and watercolors and the silk ribbons. And you can see like this one's curly maple, so the actual striations, like those stripes down it, they're called ribbons, but they are really beautiful. And then this wood here is sapel wood, which is an African hardwood, really beautiful dark grain. And then these are going to be some paper palettes. So I'll explain a little bit more about everything in the next video, but the shop, so there's 3 new offerings of things I've never had in the shop before, plus some half pans and full pans. And then I was able to open international to the UK, Canada and Australia. So I'm not exactly sure. If you have another country, you can let me know and I can try and open that. I'm still working on a website, so that will come at some point. But I would like to do the shop update on Wednesday, maybe, if I can get everything done. So I will put a video here if I can on Wednesday, and then do the shop update Wednesday night. So I will let you know. I'll also put it on my Etsy. Also, our cat has been hiding superpowers from us. So anyway, I will see you guys soon. Bye.